embarrassing, but it's not.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 43. No, day 3 of E3 2019. We are once again on the Shacknews live stream brought to you by HyperX, and once again for day 3 at the E3 Esports Zone brought to you by SubNation. And I, once again, am your host, long reads editor at Shacknews, David L. Craddock, and I'm joined this morning by the man, the myth, the legend, the briefcase man, Asif Khan, CEO and editor-in-chief of Shacknews.
Oh, hello, David.
Hello, long time no see, Asif.
Yeah, I know. It feels like it's been at least 8 hours since I saw you.
Maybe 8, give or take, yeah.
You said this was day what of E3?
43.
It's
Did
been
E3 ever stop?
84 years of E3.
It's been 84 years, Gep. Did E3 ever end last year? I feel like we were already
It feels
here.
like it never ends anymore. And with Sony not here, I could see them do a state of play like Tuesday next week just to troll us.
Yeah, I bet they will. It feels like it never ends every year because on your way out of, I think, South Hall, maybe West Halls too, they have that banner announcing the dates for the next year. So you're already kind of thinking about, okay, what's going to go on next year?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, I actually got to play some games yesterday.
Yeah, I want to hear about, you and I have been kind of mostly here at our booth doing our thing, but tell me a little bit about what you got to play.
I got to play Luigi's Mansion.
Did you? Luigi and Gooigi.
Well, Gooigi. Did you see Giant Bomb did Brad Goo Maker?
No. No, that's great.
It was freaking hilarious.
I love that wordplay.
There's like Brad sitting there all like old and mean, and then there's Brad Goo Maker looking all happy and Ouija-like. Gooigi is a great gameplay mechanic. So he can't touch water. It hurts him, but he can go through spikes. He can go through bars. So he's this conduit for solving puzzles in that game. And if you remember the original Luigi's Mansion, it's a puzzler.
Yeah.
It's like a platform puzzler. There's these little details in the game that I absolutely love. So like if you're controlling Luigi and you push down on the D-pad, he goes, Mario.
Mario.
And then if you're Gooigi and you push down on the D-pad, he goes, Mario?
Yeah, I feel like he's been looking for Mario since Mario is missing back in the SNES days.
That's true. That's
true.
true.
So how do you, I don't know if you got to see this during your demo, but how do you activate Gooigi? Is it something you can do like at any time?
Yeah, it's just you right-click in on the right analog, and he appears, and you click it, you double-click it, and he disappears.
Oh, okay.
So they set up these puzzles where, like, there's something past an obstacle that Luigi can't get by.
Yeah.
And then you are able to traverse it with Gooigi, unlock whatever you had to, and then go kind of... It's definitely interesting. It's like asymmetric, single-player puzzle solving. But then there's also multiplayer.
Yeah, that's something they kind of like dabbled in with the 3DS game, and it feels like it's more fleshed out here.
Yeah, I think they set up to 8 players. So
Wow.
I don't even know how the heck that's going to work. No. Another cool gameplay mechanic they added is like you can like slam ghosts now, and you can also slam them into other ghosts.
Oh, nice.
So I think I took out 3 ghosts at one time, and they're like, we haven't seen that before.
It's like a battle royale with ghosts in there, man.
Yeah. No, it's a good game.
Yeah. No, it's a good. I think I'm so used to saying battle royale. I meant like battle royal, like wrestling style, clobbering everybody.
Sure.
So that sounds kind of cool. I mean, what's your experience with Luigi's Mansion? Were you into the previous games?
Yes. I mean, Luigi's Mansion on GameCube was a launch title.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm a Nintendo fan. I was in line that day to buy.
Same.
I got every launch title I could. I think it was Super Monkey Ball.
Super Monkey Ball.
That was a launch title.
I worked at a bookstore at the time. I was in college, and my assistant manager, huge Star Wars fan, got the Rogue Squadron game with it, but he forgot to get a memory card, so he left his GameCube on for like a week until he had time to go out and get a memory card because he was like slowly shooting his way through levels.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that. There was shortages of memory cards at launch.
Yeah.
Oh, man. These
kids
kids
going way back.
These kids don't remember.
They don't remember.
They got
don't
Xbox
know.
Scarlet with SSDs now.
I know. Yeah, it's been. I think since Xbox, we've had like built-in hard drives. It's been kind of nice.
Yeah, not in Nintendo though.
Nintendo
had internal memory on Wii.
Nintendo always kind of internal memory, just some sort of internal storage at any rate.
Yeah, but they're always about a generation late when it comes to hardware. But I just remember, GameCube being a very powerful console,
It was.
and Luigi being like graphically at the time like super impressive.
It was super impressive, the lighting they did with his flashlight and just the atmosphere. And it was also kind of surprising. I think that was the first Nintendo console. I don't remember Virtual Boy because who does, but I think that might have been the first Nintendo console to launch without a Mario game.
Yeah, because they're coming off of Mario 64 in the previous generation.
Yeah, there have been rumors for years. Like, you remember hearing about like Mario 128-bit. You saw that demo with like a bunch of Marios running around back and forth on a platform.
I feel like that was Battle Royale. Miyamoto had it prototyped way back in the 90s. It was just like a funny proof of concept thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game looks.
This all brings me to, I know Nintendo's kind of behind on serving its classic games, but I feel like the launch of Luigi's Mansion 3 on Switch would be the perfect time to like add GameCube games, starting with Luigi's Mansion to the Switch, the Nintendo Switch Online service, just so that fans, because it's been almost 18 years now. It's time to like.
But you're getting ahead of yourself, David. They haven't even announced the SNES.
I know. I know. I said they're behind, but again, now that I think about it, they did remake the first game for 3DS like last year, I think. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they had Dark Moon on 3DS.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get SNES app on Nintendo Switch Online. Let's get N64.
Yeah.
Then, actually, you know what? Before we get the N64 app, how about we get an N64 Classic, right, for maximum
Game Boy
profit?
Classic.
Oh yeah, Game Boy Classic.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And then a Game Boy app. It's not like you can't emulate Game Boy on Switch.
They really should. It's a portable and a living room console.
Yeah,
it should be the kind of the catch-all for all Nintendo.
Yeah, I feel like
platforms.
virtual consoles should like transcend everything on Switch, since it's a hybrid console, portable, wonderful thing.
They really should do that.
You know what happened this week that I'm kind of bummed out about?
Tell me.
There's no F-Zero game. What's going on? I really thought this was the year, David.
I was pulling for you. I really was.
Yeah. Instead, we get a Mario Kart mobile app.
Yeah.
And there's a whole generation of kids out there. Then Captain Falcon's a Smash character.
Yeah. Same with a lot of the Fire Emblem characters too.
Yeah.
No,
Fire Emblem got. They got the 3 houses.
Yeah, they had their own enjoyed a resurgence
in
recent years.
Yeah,
it has. But that's how it started. I remember a lot of what was, I think, the first Smash game to feature Fire Emblem characters was Melee, and that was back when Fire Emblem was more obscure. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, these must be new characters for Smash," but no. No. So, did you get to see anything else at Nintendo yesterday during your tour?
Yes. I got to play Mario and Sonic at the Olympics Tokyo
2020. That's a mouthful.
I think the Summer Olympics.
At this, we forgot a word too.
And you know me, I love skateboarding games. If you watch that Shack Champions League final boss battle, I love me some Tony Hawk.
You do.
So you let me shred as Mario or Sonic or whoever, Dr. Eggman.
You've got to go fast.
And I really, really enjoyed that game.
Cool.
There's a surfing mode. There's like Ozzy and I were playing together, so it was head-to-head karate. Karate was really fun. It kind of reminded me of like Karate Champ.
Okay.
Which is like a super fun game. So yeah, that was a blast. Surprisingly fun. We had them on the stream earlier this week.
That's a franchise I kind of look forward to because they time them with every 2 to 4 years with the Winter or Summer Olympic Games.
Oh,
so
for sure.
It's just enough time to kind of look forward to a new iteration.
And this year I think it's really special for both those companies because the Olympics are in Tokyo. And both those are Japanese companies.
Right.
When Abe announced the Prime Minister of Japan announced that he was going to be, or that Japan was going to host the Olympics, he came out of a warp pipe wearing a Mario hat.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So yeah, I think there's definitely in Japan this like relationship between the Mario and Sonic franchise and the Olympics.
Sure.
And I think so. If you go back and you look at the Wii, for instance, those games sold very well. They're really fun.
Yeah, I think that's where the franchise started, right? And it really came into its own there too, because like everyone was looking for any sort of Mario and Sonic content for their Wii.
And the Wii really lent itself to mini games.
Yes.
And that's what Sonic at the Olympics truly is. Mario and Sonic truly is. It's like a bunch of different fun things to do with different ways to play. So if you want to play with the Pro Controller, you can. If you want buttons only, or if you want to waggle, there's an option for that.
Right. I know you love to waggle.
I do not. It was the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah.
When they made me waggle in Zelda.
You quit that pretty quickly.
Yeah, so I played that with Ozzy. He beat me in surfing. I beat him in everything else. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Nice. We haven't heard that. It's been kind of low-key at the show this year.
Yeah, but, Game Informer did their whole like massive preview a month ago or whatever.
That's true. Because
they're very high tier.
Right.
They got that exclusive. Good for them and all.
Right.
But yeah, I think, it's launching really soon.
Yeah, there's a kind of a slate of anticipated Switch games coming out, like rolling out in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Hell, even my friend Pedro comes out in like a week or two.
Yeah, and then I think Mario Maker's 2 weeks, 3?
Yeah, Mario Maker will be 15 days from today.
Oh, man.
I know. And the internet's not ready for that. That wasn't even something I played over there. I didn't play it, but I got to watch Donovan, our resident Pokemaster. I guess we have several Pokemasters on staff.
We do.
Brittany, Ozzy, Kevin, there's Greg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of people who like Pokemon on our staff. But Donovan, when I told him I had a hands-on at E3, his eyes just lit up. He was like, "Can I come?"
He's super into that, yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, you can get the Pokemon hands-on." Ozzy ended up writing up Link's Awakening. So I didn't get to play Link's Awakening, but I got to watch. Ooh,
that game is. I love the more of the art style of that game I see, the more I like it. There's a screenshot making round of Link just beaming and holding up a fish he caught.
Yeah.
It just looks adorable.
No, it's very cool looking, and yeah, that's like a rebuilt game.
Yeah,
it's very much like what they did with RE2 this year.
Yeah,
or what they're doing with Final Fantasy VII next year. It's like, hey, there's this game. Let's completely remake it and see how it turns out.
Right.
And if it's any case of RE2, or if you look at what we've seen from Final Fantasy VII, Link's Awakening is going to be great.
And I'm looking forward to all these remakes because, for the past several years, we've seen a lot of remasters. And so it's easy to confuse the two. But, remasters just kind of giving, the paint job a little touch-up, whereas these remakes are being rebuilt from the ground up, like you said. But I know there's a lot of eyes on Link's Awakening because this is a beloved entry in the series. And that was only the 4th Zelda game, so that goes way back.
Yeah, it's a Game Boy game, and we talked about this on our podcast that I was deprived of the Game Boy experience. Right. My parents thought it was a fad. Now look at me.
Now, look at you now.
Take that, parents.
That's right. That's right. I still want to see more. Whenever they get around.
This will really be my first full playthrough of the game. Like I used to play it on like the bus of my friends. Like, my friend let me try Tetris handheld, and
I still remember. I think I still have it. The issue 50 of Nintendo Power was a gold cover with. I don't think it was the Master Sword because that wasn't in that game, but the owl on the front. It was a collector's issue promoting Link's Awakening. I still have it.
Sure. Now you're playing with Power.
That's right, Nintendo Power.
You were part of the Nintendo Fun Club?
Oh, I totally was.
Yeah.
I absolutely was.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
I miss the Nintendo Fun Club.
I do too.
I wish they would bring it back.
There was so much to look forward to with that.
They kind of pivoted that towards My Nintendo and then those rewards and stuff. And
yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really heard much about that. They could, they brought back the Nintendo Power podcast.
Yeah,
so they could revive the Fun Club
because they have some good interviews on there.
Yeah, they could revive it.
So, kind of speaking of Zelda, who called it?
You called it.
I called that they were going to announce not just the next Zelda. I think this is a key distinction.
Sequel.
But a sequel to Breath of the Wild, which I think has a lot of people excited. This could be a Majora's Mask situation, or it might be set. Majora's Mask wasn't exactly the same world, but familiar characters, but kind of in a new setting.
So, like, spoiler alert for a game that came out 2 years ago, right? But if it's a sequel, it happens after the end of Breath of the Wild, which I guess you haven't seen yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
145 just a mild spoiler. You might have to fight Ganon at the end of it, at the end of a Zelda game. And
with the Master Sword, perhaps? I guess that's optional.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering where exactly in the timeline this sequel will take place, because Breath of the Wild kind of exists at the end of a bunch of the
all
other
three.
Yeah.
So this might be like
it's like the nexus of the story of the Hero of Time.
Yeah.
So then is this some sort of like funneling, and now we're moving on one linear path again, or will there be branches again?
There's so many questions I have about this. Let's break it down a little right now. It opens with these odd glowing lights, and at first I think a lot of the staff thought it might be a Metroid game, but then I started thinking, well, Breath of the Wild does fuse technology with fantasy.
Yeah, it does.
And then we saw Link and Zelda in this subterranean environment. So there kind of raises two questions. Might we see the return of more traditional temple-style dungeons? And two, will Zelda play a more prominent role in this game? Because a lot of people...
she was right next to him.
She was right next to Link. So a lot of people are wondering, could we choose to play as Link or Zelda, or might there be some sort of co-op option where another player can control Zelda?
I have no idea. And like I said, I don't want to spoil too much of the final boss battle.
No.
Zelda's a badass in Breath of the Wild.
She is.
She's been holding off pure evil for 100 years while Link recovers from losing the battle.
Yeah.
Against Ganon.
Carrying a lot of weight, yeah.
I always said I thought it would be really cool if we could play as Link in the Breath of the Wild world 100 years ago. With the champions.
Yes.
Watch the champions fall. Watch Link fall. Have that one Zelda game where Link dies or doesn't survive.
Right.
I thought a prequel was more likely than a sequel.
Right. And like, if you look at the trailer, if you ignore Breath of the Wild sequel, it almost looks like a sequel. I mean, that looks like maybe moments before Link kind of lost the battle. But this is, I guess, going to be, for the sake of, until we get a proper name, Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guarantee it won't be called that.
No, it won't be called that. But I think it works as a placeholder since it is a sequel.
Mask of the Wild. I don't know. Because I think there's a lot of corollaries between Ocarina and Breath of the Wild. They're some of the best Zelda games. And both of them deserved a sequel.
They do.
So Majora's Mask was a very fine Zelda. So it's very debated if it's good or bad. People didn't like the time mechanic. I love the time mechanic.
It's neither. It's awesome.
Yeah, right?
It is legit in my top 3.
Yeah, so given that, I was expecting a take on Zelda similar to that with this Breath of the Wild sequel. And yeah, I think dungeons are going to be part of it.
Yeah, but that almost like... I'm totally down for it because I love the traditional Zelda dungeons, but I also love Breath of the Wild's openness, whereas each shrine, and the shrines varied from longer to shorter, was very open-ended. Like you and I, we often, when the game came out, we would compare shrines, and it turned out we had totally different ways of solving them.
Yeah.
And I want that to persist. Whereas the problem with traditional Zelda dungeons, if they are traditional, is that they were kind of built around 1 or 2 items.
Yeah, sure.
Which means there's only one solution to each puzzle.
What I would like to see, because I agree with the criticism about dungeons in the first game. I thought it was brilliant that they didn't have it.
Yeah.
But if you were to chain together like 3 shrines or 4 shrines and make that a dungeon,
yeah, sure,
that could be really cool because there were some amazing puzzles. So if each dungeon was like a series of challenging puzzles with like a boss at the end, like one of those minor or major tests of strength.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like if they could package them together into a dungeon, I don't want to see like a recreation of the NES dungeons.
No, I feel like we're going to get that in Link's Awakening, kind of twice over, with Link's Awakening's dungeons and also with the
Dungeon
Super
Maker.
Zelda Maker.
Who called that?
You. That's you.
I called that, what, like 3 years ago?
What do you think? Do you think they'd ever spin that off into like a separate product, or do you think this is going to be it? Maybe this is an experiment.
I think this is an experiment.
Yeah.
And if it takes off, yeah, they might make a dedicated one with that same kind of Mario Maker mentality where it's like, here's Zelda 1 skin, here's Zelda Link to the Past skin.
Yeah. Link's Awakening 93 skin.
Yeah. And then, maybe a Link Between Worlds.
Or even the Capcom games, Oracle of Ages and Seasons. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Four Swords.
Four Swords.
There's a lot of art styles that would fit like a top-down creator app or game for Zelda. I think this is an experiment.
Yeah.
But we'll see where it goes. I'm excited. I'm more excited for Mario Maker personally.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's 15 days away, so it's pretty easy to get hyped for that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about it this year because as we discussed on the Shackcast, I felt one of the missing links, pun intended, in Super Mario Maker was a story mode, not to tell a story, but to give me some Nintendo levels designed to kind of show off the mechanics, give me some classic platforming. As soon as the Super Mario Maker 2 Direct said, hey, story mode, 100 levels, I was sold. And we've gotten to kind of dabble with a review build of the game. And I know we can't talk too much about it, but
I was at a preview event.
Yeah.
We can't talk about any reviews.
I'll just say I'm having a ton of fun with what they put together so far.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about it next week most likely, but I can say that the first Mario Maker was my game of the year 2015 in a year that The Witcher 3 and Rocket League were released.
Yeah, that was a
hell of a year for video games. And Mario Maker 2 will very likely be on my list of game of the year. Getting back to the Nintendo booth, trying to see what else they had there. Yeah, those were basically it. The booth itself is really impressive.
They've had, I only started returning to E3 in 2016 after almost 10 years away. But ever since then, Nintendo's booth has kind of been like the site to see.
Yeah, it's what I love about them is they really pay attention to the likenesses of their characters and stuff. So when you see a model of like Luigi over there or Guigi over there, it really looks exactly like the character, exactly like the art style from the game. And it's that attention to detail that I love about Nintendo.
Speaking of their characters, kind of an extension of that, yesterday as I passed by on my way to our booth, I saw Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario.
Oh, no.
There's a huge line to get your picture taken with him.
Yeah, he's super sweet. And
he's a super nice guy.
He spends so much time with fans. And he loves being Mario. You can tell that, like, it was like a gig that was built for him. He was the last guy to audition for it. He's awesome. Yeah. I absolutely love Charles Martinet. He's one of my favorite voice actors.
Well, he gives so much personality to Mario because Mario doesn't have many spoken lines per se, but his enthusiasm and just kind of that joy you experience playing Mario games comes through Charles's interpretation of him.
Yeah. That was Mario, but then I did get to interview some other people yesterday off stream.
Right.
So those will be hitting Shacknews today, hopefully.
Yeah.
A little game called Doom Eternal. I don't know if you heard of it.
Doom. I've heard of Doom.
Quite
I've heard
a
of the
bit of Doom
Slayer.
Yeah.
Ripping and tearing as he does.
Yes, he does.
So how did that interview go? What do you think of how the game's shaping up?
I think they're making some bold design choices. There's no traditional deathmatch shipping with the game.
Yeah, I saw a Shack thread on that last night, and I know some people are a little worried, but I feel like Hugo Martin and Marty Stratton and the development team down there did really know what they're doing with this. I trust them. They're handling it in-house, so they're overseeing everything.
Yep. I think that what they did with 2016 single player and their own take on it, I think they're doing the same thing with multiplayer in Eternal. I don't want to I don't want to spoil that interview. It's very good. You guys should watch it. But they really talked about how this is an opportunity to really put their stamp on the franchise. And I think 2016 did that, but this is like you said, they outsourced multiplayer. And there was a separate app.
It was. It felt completely disconnected, and it kind of was. And, I even said in my review of Doom 2016 that I didn't think the multiplayer was bad. It just kind of felt like it was a satellite moon.
Yeah.
It was kind of off in its own little space there.
I actually mentioned it to them yesterday. I said, look, we would have given you guys a 10 out of 10 if the multiplayer was any good. And they even know that. I know it's a little harsh to say, but they even know that it didn't live up to id Software expectations for multiplayer. And that's just a weird thing to say, that right now in multiplayer shooters, id Software does not have the it game.
No, Quake Champions, I think, has been a blast for Quake players, but
even Quake players checked out.
Yeah, it's kind of stalled, and it's really, that's kind of on it, right? Because it's been in early access for a little over 2 years now. I mean, if anyone's supposed to kind of be spreading the brand and the messaging of that game, it's them, and they're kind of saying nothing's happening.
Yeah, so that's weird that they weren't even here.
It is. I enjoy it for what it is, but it just doesn't have a high adoption rate.
But I know that Marty and Hugo cared deeply about Doom and id Software and the history, and I just think that we're going to see a new take on multiplayer with an invasion mechanic, asymmetric gameplay.
Some souls
it could be
in
really
there.
cool.
Yeah.
And what I think is really important is that they told me, like, look, we want you to feel that same feeling you have, that badass feeling, that joy of the symphony of ripping and tearing, right? Mm-hmm. They wanted to take that and apply that to multiplayer.
Yeah.
So if they can execute on that, I think it'll be really good. I think we're probably, they haven't said it, but I think they're probably going to see something at QuakeCon.
I would think so. That's really kind of id's time to shine.
They love to do this thing where they have the keynote, it's live, and then they shut down the stream, and they're like, and now for a presentation only for people in the crowd.
Which is cool.
I love that. It's one of my favorite parts of going to QuakeCon. So I think that there's a chance we get something like that, and then maybe a behind closed doors hands-on or something. But yeah, I'm very excited for Doom 2019, Doom Eternal.
Yes.
And just what they're doing with grappling and the dash jump.
And more platforming style
It's like
mechanics.
Mario with a gun.
Yeah.
And they added that.
Let me ask you, though, how are you feeling about that? Because platforming in 3D games, especially first-person shooters, to me has always been a little spotty.
I thought 2016 did a great job of it. And then the addition of the meat hook and these different things, I think it's going to be great. It's definitely different. I asked them about Celeste actually during it. I'm like, did you guys see Celeste and decide to add grappling, or when did you decide to do that? Because it's very similar.
Yeah.
It leads to wall jumping. You have to like jump, dash, grab. It creates this new meta for how the levels are created, and it informs the level design.
It does inform it. I think what I'm looking forward to seeing in Doom Eternal, which Doom 2016 did really well, is a lot of times the paths through the levels themselves, the objectives were kind of straightforward, leading you from point A to B to C. But if you really took the time to play around with the platforming mechanics and the abilities you gained, the secrets, the exploration rewarded you with secrets and more experience for upgrades and stuff.
Yeah, I think these levels are going to be even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I think id Tech Engine has evolved since 2016, and like Marty and Hugo knew, it was like, yes, it was a series of arenas. I think those areas in between the arenas are going to be much more vast, and they're going to have like platforming puzzles. So this combination of like platforming puzzles with like pinkies floating in the air and meat hooks, and also the fire mechanic now, because if you set someone on fire and they die, you get armor. If you do a glory kill, you get health. And if you chainsaw, you get ammo.
Right.
So it's this game that's like designed for you to take risk. And like it leads to these crazy rubber band moments where you're like on the verge of death. You do a glory kill, you got your health back, and then you're like, crap, I'm out of ammo. So then you do a chainsaw at the last second. It just leads to these crazy rubber band moments where you're like on the verge of death. And the game, even 2016, it encourages you. Oh, there's no health pickup back there, bro. You got to go kill this guy if you want any chance to survive.
Right.
And then you got a glory kill, which means you got to get right up to them and rip and tear.
Rip and tear, rip and tear. Well, Doom Eternal is looking awesome, and we're running out of time in our first Shack Chat segment. But before we go to break, I know we want to take some time to kind of give our viewers a look at the schedule we have coming up today, because we have a jam-packed day full of interview. Even though this is the last day of E3, we've got Astro with hardware products coming up at 9:45. 10 o'clock, Moons of Madness, checking out a very Lovecraftian-style survival horror game. A look at the Sega Genesis Mini. The lineup for that is just looking awesome so far.
It is.
The Oddworld developers will be here. Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2, a ton of great stuff coming up. And speaking of a ton of great stuff, Asif, I want to take a second to also tell our viewers about Shacknews Mercury.
Yeah.
We brought Mercury back, and if you go to shacknews.com, where you might be right now because you're watching us through a series of tubes, to plug the Shackcast a little bit there. But if you go to shacknews.com right now, you'll see a border with Lola, the
chair pet of the
chair
board.
pet of the board at Shacknews, kind of giving you those puppy eyes look, wants you to subscribe to Mercury, starting for as little as $1 a month.
That's right.
For all sorts of exclusive content, including EPUB downloads of our long weeds, which I write, ad-free browsing experience, all sorts of awesome perks, only available to Shacknews Mercury subscribers.
And if you're a Shacknews chatty user, you get a special lightning bolt album.
That's right.
Emblem. So
so go check out Shacknews Mercury and stay tuned.
It's $1 a month.
Yeah,
Come
starting
on.
$1 a month. What more can you want? $1 a month?
Yeah, do it for Shacknews.
Do it for Shacknews. And do it for Shacknews by staying tuned for more content coming up.